This is the instructional strategy presentation for EDRD 5502. Our group chose the focus article, The Power of Story, Using Storytelling to Improve Literacy Learning by Sarah Miller and Lisa Pennycuff. Storytelling in the classroom is one way to address literacy development by improving oral language, reading comprehension, and writing. Because of the interrelated nature of the processes involved in reading and writing, storytelling is an effective pedagogical strategy that can be woven into instruction to increase students' competencies in all areas. Our group also felt that this strategy was applicable at all grade levels, and the following slides will explain how we implemented these strategies in our own classrooms in various grade levels. The article states, students learn to build a sense of story by anticipating features of the genre, including how a story may begin and end. The development of a sense of story allows students to make better predictions, to anticipate what is next, to increase awareness of cause and effect, sequence events, and develop other skills that aid comprehension. Storytelling further assists in the development of a sense of story by incorporating the use of essential story elements. These elements include point of view, plot, style, characters, setting, and theme. Comprehension, critical listening, and thinking skills are also developed by combining storytelling with questioning, imagery, inferencing, and retelling. One strategy suggested in the article was found on page 39. It said students are asked to read at least 5 different stories and find one that they would like to tell. After reading the story, the student tries to tell the story to a partner. Following the retelling, students go back to the text to be sure that the important details are included. Students can also work with partners to retell the story using only 6 sentences, 2 each for the beginning, middle, and end. Following the 6-sentence version, students can try to tell the story using only 3 sentences, 1 sentence for the beginning, 1 for the middle, and 1 for the end. With a partner, the students share their stories. The listening partner offers positive feedback to the storyteller, and then they are asked to offer one suggestion that might make the storytelling even better. The storytellers are then ready to begin telling their stories to the class. In my first grade classroom, I decided to try this strategy out, and since we are just beginning readers, I read the story Chrysanthemum aloud to the class. I found a really great resource on Teachers Pay Teachers that helped with providing pictures for the story. So after I read the story aloud, the students partnered up and retold the story orally to each other. After that, I handed out pictures from the story, and the students cut them out and put them in order of the story. After the pictures were in order, the students then broke them into the beginning section, the middle section, and the end section. Next, students worked with their partners to write 2 sentences about each part of the story. Next, they combined their sentences into 1 sentence per part. And then finally, they retold their story using their sentences. So as we continue to practice this in the first grade classroom, and students become more independent, then they would be able to choose their own stories instead of having the entire class do the same story.
The research states, in her work, Black has witnessed a growing enthusiasm for storytelling as she helps students experiment to find just the right voice, facial expressions, and gestures to tell a story. You can read more about that quote on page 39. The second quote states, students can practice this concept orally through storytelling until they have internalized how their reader might react as the story unfolds. And read more about this on page 41. A classroom strategy I found in the article connects reading and writing in a wonderful way. Starting with reading, as teachers are choosing their books, they should look for ways to be able to model facial expressions, model how to choose the right voice for punctuation, and how to use gestures and body movements as you're reading. There's an anchor chart I put in the middle about punctuation that teachers can refer to as they are thinking out loud how they're choosing the right voice to use as they're reading. And also during shared reading is a great time to invite students to give these ideas a try with specific sentences you found in the book. So, for example, find a sentence where there might be an exclamation point or a question mark and have students read the sentence, showing how they know how to change their voice or even give a facial expression to match what they read. Now, moving on to writing, I put 3 mentor texts that are helpful to use during writing time. Also, use shared writing. Shared writing is a helpful tool to use to be able to do writing, think out loud the choices you're making, the words you're using, the punctuations you're using, and then stop writing. Change your minds to being readers and then go back and read it and see and stop and think out loud. Are our voices changing the way that we wrote it in our shared writing? Are our facial expressions changing the way that we wanted to, the way we were writing? This helps bring attention to the choices students make when they're writing. So when someone reads their text, that it's going to elicit the responses that they were wanting as they made their choices. I also put a few examples of writing samples that came from my second grade classroom. And conferring with students using the mentor text is a great way to help them start putting pieces or parts in their book that will help the reader do the things that we've been practicing during reading shared reading books and during read aloud time, like facial expressions and how to choose the just right voice.
Hello, this is Sarah Zalzakova, and these are my first 2 quotes on the research area in this article. The first quote is on page 1. That is, storytelling in the classroom is one way to address literacy development by improving oral language, reading comprehension, and writing. Because of the interlinked nature of the processes involved in reading and writing, storytelling is an effective pedagogical strategy that can be woven into instructions to increase students' competencies in all areas. My second quote is also on page 1. That is, the skills of literacy include not only reading and writing, but also responding appropriately to a variety of messages, which include emails that incorporate pictures as well as text to help and convey meanings to others, and the ability to persuade, inform, and express our emotions. My third quote is a classroom strategy that is on page 2 of the article, which goes like this. Engaging in storytelling activities is a way to motivate even the most reluctant reader or writer. Literacy instruction is the most effective when developed through social interaction and collaboration with others. This pedagogical strategy capitalizes on student desire to talk and interact with others, building on a synergistic relationship between language in an interactive way. Teachers and students can use storytelling to improve literacy learning.
Hi, professor and students. This is Sarah Zalzakova. So my classroom strategy quote is once again on page 2. An applicable way to use this strategy in a middle school classroom would be to use an age-appropriate book for the middle school level, such as a chapter book, even a short story, even a novel, to really get the students engaged in the story, especially using pairs or 2 students or even groups of 4 or 5 in sitting around together in classrooms in a desk and really talking to each other and engaging about a theme, character, plot, setting, a particular quote in a book, even using a worksheet as a guide to really improve their communication skills, writing down notes on the worksheet, even analyzing a specific quote in a text, highlighting specific areas in the book that really stand out. Think about the areas that they can even relate to in the text through personal experience or even other books that they have read as well. to really have a collaborative and social interaction, blending those communication, writing skills, even literacy comprehension skills as well. And another way to use this kind of strategy would be in a whole in-class group discussion, using a particular book, looking at the theme, plot, characters in detail as a whole class. I would say even acting out this story in a short play to really keep the class engaged, hands-on verbally, and building the communication comprehension skills and talking about how to plot closely can relate to other texts that I've read, how the quote really stands out. You can talk about protagonist or antagonist in a particular book, how the characters are different, learning about what a plot is or a theme is to build the reading comprehension skills as well. Thank you very much and have a good day.
The research states that storytelling prior to writing also serves to help students organize their story. This is typically considered the pre-writing stage of the writing process. Also, often struggling writers, like struggling readers, do not have a strong sense of story, and their pre-writing is not very useful in crafting a well-designed plot. Using storytelling to discuss many different types of stories, students can make decisions about what type of story they want to tell and what details they should include by participating in oral discussions with a partner or the class. For a struggling writer, this time for oral storytelling gives them confidence in their ideas, motivation to craft an interesting story, and a starting point for written planning. One way in which I use the author's idea of using oral storytelling to help students in the pre-writing stage is to have them tell their story to a classmate. The writing they were working on was called A Slice of Life, which tells a very brief but detailed moment in the students' lives. At this point in the process, the students had already used a method called life mapping to select a moment to write about. They had also bullet pointed important points such as beginning, middle, and end, and details that they could remember. All of this can be seen on the included brainstorming documents. One of the biggest problems with this assignment, however, is having students include enough detail. The authors argue that using oral storytelling helps to bring out this detail. Therefore, I had the students get into pairs. I timed them for 3 minutes. One student told their story while the other student actively listened, thinking of details that he or she liked and questions that he or she had. After the 3 minutes, the student shared these observations with the partner, and the partner added any missing details to their brainstorming document. The partner switched roles, and then the students were ready to start their rough drafts.